Newsflash, Teslas driven in the even driven in the most recent version of FSD sometimes make significant errors that could lead to accidents and injuries. Oh, wait, I'm sorry. That's not news. You already knew this. In fact, you've driven with an FSD and you've experienced this very thing. And in fact, you're supposed to keep your attention on the road at all times, just like you didn't have FSD, so that you can take over if there's a problem. But apparently Dan O'Dowd and others are attempting to destroy the FSD program because occasionally, once in a while, there are these situations that arise. Well, today he went out on a ride with Ross Gerber. I guess we'll be hearing a lot more about that over the next few days, where in the course of their hour-long drive, there was one such incident, and Dan is all about that one incident, not about the 59 minutes plus that the car did beautifully. But then there'll be a conversation that they were having in the car, and maybe Dan O'Dowd, during the course of that conversation, might have said, hey, this works pretty good. I don't know. We'll find out. Anyway, we're going to be talking about all the news that's fit to talk about. Not that. We're going to be talking about the financial news, Tesla news, etc. in this particular episode. This is Randy Kirk. If you like the Friday night good news show, then please hit like. You want to hit, as usual, we've got amazing shows coming up. Tomorrow morning, we've got Larry Goldberg. I've already recorded it. I can tell you don't want to miss it. We're going to be talking about Tesla. We're going to be talking about, the Powell meetings last week. But mostly we're going to be talking about India, and we're going to be talking about Dojo, because guess what? Those are two areas where Larry has a lot of expertise. And then on Sunday morning, I've got Brian White on, and Brian's going to talk about the Model 3 Highland, which is an area where he has tons of expertise. He may be the leading bulb on that subject right now. So you want to check that out on Sunday morning. And plus the regular shows, the news show on Saturday afternoon, the news show on Sunday. All right. Hit Patreon. We could use more help on Patreon, but if you join Patreon, you're going to get all my numbers. You're going to get some shows in advance, like, in fact, those shows that I just mentioned. Those will start popping up on Patreon. The Fed chairman messed up a great week that could have seen Tesla at 300 because we had the India news and then we had the Dojo news. But alas, interest rates and recession fears won the week. So do I think that the interest rates are going to go up later this year? No. Do many, 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 many people who are probably a lot smarter than me and pay a lot more attention to what the economy is doing and have many more resources than I do think that the interest rates are going up later this year? No. Yeah, some do. What about recession? Do I think there's going to be a recession this year? No. Could there be a recession? Of course. Mostly if M2 and if the velocity of money slows down too much, I think there could be a recession. Could there be a black swan event that would cause a recession? Sure. Those things can always happen. Under normal circumstances for the rest of this year and into next year, I see no recession. The stock market sees no recession. I don't think there's going to be a recession. Inflation, you've heard me say it. If you watch this channel, I think that inflation is under control. I think that inflation is no longer an issue. I'm getting a lot of my information from Trueflation and from Renee, both of whom say inflation is over. It's nothing to worry about anymore. And that, in fact, the Fed will have to lower interest rates later this year because it'll just be ridiculous to continue to hold them at these levels, much less raise them. So that news, though, however, people were fearful, and so they sold. And so there you go. We had a tough week. But you are way ahead on Tesla for the year. You're way ahead on Tesla for the month. You're even way ahead over the last 11 days. But this week, you're not up as much as you were 11 days ago. For the very first time in a long time, Tesla had a very tough week. And some technical analysts are hoping for 235 next week. They'd like to see Tesla go down to 235. Apparently, there's something going on. There was some kind of a golden cross today. I don't get it. Maybe you do. Tell me in the information below if we actually ended up with that golden cross today. And then there's also, there's other technical things. And apparently there's a 235 that these technical analysts would like to see Tesla bounce off of and then go back up. Okay, I'm pretty sure that 10 days from now, we will be ahead of the 275 where we topped out. I think that that's a given. Will we get to 300? Uh, Maybe that'll take until the following week. And what will cause that to happen? Well, the thing that could cause that to happen would be second quarter numbers, which will be out on Sunday, a week from this Sunday, not this Sunday, but a week from Sunday. We'll get second quarter numbers. So 437 seems to be the bottom number. If we are under 437, that is not going to be good. I think that's Troy Tesla's number. He may raise that this week. The market, market watchers are about 442, 445. That'll change this week also. We'll get more numbers out this week. I think, and they'll probably be creeping that number up. They usually do just before the number's announced. And that way, even if we beat the 437 and beat the 442, we may not beat the number that they give on Friday. And then that'll be bad, right? But anyway, I think if we hit 450, it's neutral, maybe even positive if we hit 450. My number is 460. I believe that is where we're going to end up. And if we hit 460, that is going to be very positive and should move the markets. 450 might move the markets higher. 460, I think, really will. Because remember, I keep talking about execution. That's what everybody's going to want to see right now is execution. So this coming week might be all about planning ahead for that number. That's what we might see in terms of the market movement. Maybe there won't be a lot of movement. It'll be kind of neutral. But as always, there could always be a big, some big news one way or the other. Right now, Tesla has been detached from the macro until today. Today, Tesla followed the NASDAQ almost exactly. And that's unusual. It has not followed the NASDAQ exactly for about 4 weeks, or even back in 4 weeks ago, it wasn't following the NASDAQ, it was following the Randy Kirk index of the Cathie Wood stocks. But it was following the NASDAQ more closely than it was, for instance, the Dow, because the Dow and the NASDAQ have been completely detached for quite some time. So anyway, we'll see what kind of news comes out this week that could affect both either the macro or affect Tesla. That could be good news. It could be bad news. All of those things can happen during the course of the week. I will talk on Sunday night with my usual show where I'll give you my projections with regard to where we are looking at for the week with different news things that we know come out. We just don't know how various indexes and government reports are going to play. There's not that much next week anyway. Just let me give you a little heads up. Dojo should have been the biggest news of the week. Because why? Well, because the potential for Dojo, the potential for Dojo is as large as Apple. Elon has said multi-billions of dollars of sales. And of course, it's going to be at 70, 60, 70, 80% margins. So you're talking about the potential for hundreds of billions of dollars in profit. That is if Elon should decide to offer deep learning as a service, Dojo as a service. So you might be asking, well, why wouldn't he if it's that kind of numbers? Well, the answer is another thing that Elon always says. It has to be a compelling product at a compelling price. If either one of those criteria are not met, then he's not going to come out with it. So he's going to be looking at, are other people offering deep learning? What are they charging for the deep learning services? Can Dojo beat those numbers? Do they have enough compute after all of the internal needs that Tesla has? Where will they have that extra compute? Will that extra compute be at December? Will it be at next August? So the timing might have a lot to do with their internal needs for Dojo. So that should be the biggest news. It didn't really move the stock that much, and of course the overall results of this week were not good for Tesla. Now the India news did get a lot of attention and probably moved the stock a little bit. But to me, it's not nearly as clear that the India decision or non-decision or the potential for decision is anywhere close to as impactful as Dojo. I mean, India is a great place. I think it's a very good idea to put in a major investment in India. We'll be talking again about a lot about that on Saturday morning, tomorrow morning. But there's lots of other locations, and they're going to make money in whatever location they put it, and it's not maybe going to make a lot of difference between one location and another as to how much money they make and how that affects the stock. So Dojo is a product, and it can result in hundreds of billions of dollars of sales and profits. India is just where they're going to make some of the product. And so I'm not sure that should be moving the stock that much. I think the execution, the fact that you're going to grow the company more, that is important, but it's not so important as to where. Well, good news this past week included a lot of activity on the new product front. And so there were more sightings of Cybertruck. The camouflage version is really fun. So people keep asking me, how do I get that Cybertruck that's on your shelf? Well, that's an image. The entire background is an image. So that's, if I had it for sale, I would sell them to you, I promise. But anyway, so we saw some of those camouflage Cybertrucks out on the road, some more of them. There's now 2 driving around. Lots of sightings, but also sightings of the equipment being installed in Austin. In fact, not only was it shown being installed, but there was windows that had been covered have been uncovered so that the drones could see inside. So they want us to know that they're moving along. I did an entire, so that's more, the Cybertruck is coming along well, and some people are now predicting that it'll be out early. I don't know that. I have no real good information on that. Then the Model 3, lots and lots of sightings of Model 3 samples that are out driving around, lots of information in terms of what are the changes that are going to be in the Model 3. Well, Brian White knows more about it than anybody. That's going to be on Sunday morning, so don't miss that. He'll give you a full rundown of the things that he thinks are important about the Model 3, including possible pricing, including when does he think it will actually be ramped up and started to go into sale. By the way, the street is not wise at all to what Brian is talking about. They're not paying attention to the Model 3. They should be, but they're not. And he'll tell you why, and that's going to give you a buying advantage. I am not a stock investment advisor. This is not stock investment advice. Anyway, okay. A lot of good news, including the talk of India and major future investments in the next China, which I'm calling India. India is the next China. Apple left a meeting with the Prime Minister today and was very encouraged. A bunch of other tech companies met with Moto during the week, and apparently they were all encouraged, and they're all making major investments. Many tech companies are making these major investments in India. So I think it's going to be the next China. You always need another place when China gets a little too wealthy, a little bit too out there. Their economy's struggling now. Their population is decreasing. These are not good signs for the future. So, and China is a little more difficult to deal with, and they're making all this. They're doing all this saber rattling over Taiwan. Well, time to look for another possibility. And India seems to be where folks may be going next. A little better news, the semi-truck, better news on the semi-truck specifically. Apparently they are back making these vehicles one at a time. I guess you would call those hand-built versions, but they have license plates on them. They're ready to be put into use. Brian White again thinks that they'll be making about 1 per day. If that's true and they make 1 per day all year, that's about $1 billion in sales this year. It adds up really quick on the semi-truck. So last piece of news for today, Elon Musk and Mark Zuckerberg are apparently going to do an M&M cage fight. Apparently this is for real. It will be a massive bonanza for PR, and also apparently a massive bonanza for some charity that they choose to give to. People are saying it's going to cost $100 to watch it on TV. All I care about is that Elon protects his brain. It is a national treasure. It's very important to my children's retirement as I try to build up their future. Elon says that his best move is called the walrus move, where he just lays on top of his opponent and smothers him. So anyway, that's the news for today. If you liked it, if you like that I do this on Friday night, please hit the like, hit subscribe, hit notify, and then if you want to really get super good information, jump onto my Patreon as well. It's been great talking to you.